Welcome back to this week's Human Design Transit Report. And today is Sunday, June 26th. And I want to let you know, I'm going to go back to Mondays because this was an experiment to see if you preferred me to release these on Sundays. And no is the answer. You actually were happier when I was releasing them on Mondays. So I'm going to go back starting next week to Mondays, and stay tuned for this upcoming Thursday, the 29th, because there'll be another transit report happening then that's going to talk about the transit that happens before Monday. Okay, so the new transit starts tomorrow, June 26th, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. Well, we have some interesting big news for this transit because just on June 23rd, just a couple of days ago, the nodes of the moon moved and the north node moved into the gate 3. Now, what this means is that we have a defined channel, the 360, that goes from the root center to the sacral center. And the north node is going to be there through August 27th. So about 2 months, which seems like a long time for a transit, but actually for the nodes, it's relatively short. More often, it's more like 4 or 5 months. So this is kind of a short visit. And the reason this is important is that 30% of the population who normally do not have a defined sacral will have access to ongoing sacral energy during this time. So you projectors and manifestors and reflectors, woohoo, you get to see what the big deal is about having that defined sacral. So play around with that for yourself. And, if you're a human design person and you have projectors and manifestors and reflectors in your life, and they may not really be paying all that much attention, let them know and have them pay a little bit more attention about how they feel, because they will have more energy than usual. I would love, love, love if you would let us know how you experience this. If you're a non-sacral being, what is this transit going to be like for you? So you can put that here in the comments in YouTube. You can also go into the Becoming Sovereign Quantum Retreat Center, which is my online community, our online community. And I post the transit reports there every week, and I would love it if you would make some comments in there. So this is one of the ways that we learn from each other, is when we actually share our experiences with each other. So I really encourage you to do that. And I personally would love to hear from you. A couple more notes about this particular channel. Now, a few transits ago, I did talk about this because we had this channel, but it was brief before. This is a much longer transit. So Pluto has been in that 60 and is going to be in that 60. And if you want to, you can go and check out my video about Pluto and how long Pluto is going to be in the 60 and what that's all about. So that's a really interesting story. But then here, partnered with the North Node in the 3, we've got this channel, which in traditional human design is known as the channel of mutation, and in quantum human design is the channel of innovation. Now, the reason it's innovation is that the 3 in quantum human design is the gate of innovation. So what we've got going on here is the 60 is receiving all of the really leading edge breakthrough ideas that have been coming in through the knowing circuit. These are both in the knowing circuit, and the channel is in the knowing circuit. Knowing circuit comes in, splits around, comes back up through the central channel. And you'll see that 360 is at the very bottom, right? It's going from the root to the sacral. So it's the place where that 60, which is known as conservation, is going to be sorting through all of those different pieces and going, okay, what's really of use here? Which of the mutations, which is what we call them in traditional human design, which of the really leading edge ideas, which of the new possibilities, which of the new forms, which of the new perspectives and potentials do we want to carry through and start to bring into form? So that's what the 60 is kind of sorting through. And then the 3 is, okay, what are we going to innovate? Let's go. And it's also known in the I Ching as difficulty at the beginning, which makes sense because starting new innovative things are often difficult at the beginning, right? You're doing something that's maybe never been done before or never been done in the way that you're thinking of doing it. And there can be difficulty at the beginning, but don't let that deter you. Don't let it keep you from wanting to move forward with your innovations, because we really need to be extremely innovative these days for us to start to regenerate our lives, our families, our communities, and ultimately our world with ways that are far more in alignment with what's good for our earth, what's good for our bodies, what's good for our communities, and so on. We really need to find ways to be healing and growing and regenerating. And some of that, I think, is going to be coming in through that knowing circuit, and it's going to be coming through that 60-3. So I encourage you to really be paying attention during this transit, in addition to it bringing sacral energy and root energy to those of you who have undefined roots. That's also important. You'll want to be checking that out for yourself. Whether you feel like your relationship to the earth is a bit more developed with that defined for you. But whatever your particular configuration is, all of us are going to be influenced by this channel that's going to be lit up during this couple of month period. And it's really kind of going, what are we going to innovate? What are we going to innovate? What are we going to innovate? And let's go, let's start, let's go. And in a transit coming up soon, we're actually going to have the gate of starting things, getting going. So that's going to help us with that. The two gates that are highlighted by the sun and the earth during this transit are also on the root center. So we've got that 60 that has, like I said, has been lit up by Pluto for a long time and will continue to be lit up for a while to come. And then the 58, which is in the logic circuit, and the 52, which is also in the logic circuit. So we've got a little bit of a creative tension here between that's really strong energy in the knowing circuit, which is individual circuitry, here to be different, here to bring change, very mutative, right? Which is why that particular channel has those characteristics. But then the logic circuit, which is left brain energy, it's analytical, it's strategic, it's patterns, likes to map patterns, can see when things are out of alignment, has the ability to bring things back into alignment, likes planning and so on, right? It has a single pointed focus, right? It has all of those qualities, and it's very different than the knowing circuit, which is really about divine downloads, and logic is really kind of more about figuring things out. And there's a time and a place for sure to figure things out. I know you've probably heard me say, use your authority, and your authority is not going to be logical because it's an intuitive capacity that we all have. Whatever your authority is, it's not a logical thing. And yet we also need the ability to, take a look at numbers and look at patterns and, see where things are in or out of alignment. Right. The 58, which, like I said, is on the root center here, is called joy in traditional human design, or the joy of mastery in quantum human design. And so the mastery part has been added because it's about this sense of, part of what happens with the scientific method, which is in the logic circuit, right, is repetition. There's this sense of repetition of doing things again and again and again and going, okay, how does it work this time? How does it work that time? Is there consistency? Is there not? Is there a pattern, or is it chaotic and all over the place? How do we make sense of that, right? So there's a certain joy in being able to get on top of that process. And the mate of the 58 is the gate of correction in traditional human design, or the gate of realignment, which is about how we bring things back into alignment. And there's a joy in that. Like, one of my very best friends has the gate 18 defined in her chart. And she loves doing accounting. She loves doing her spreadsheets. She loves it. There's a joy that she gets when things come into alignment. Now, I have the gate 58, but not the 18, but there is a joy that I get when it feels like things are in order, when there's a kind of logic, if you will, to the pattern that I see. And I like doing crossword puzzles, right? And you're putting things into order. I'm not so much of like a Wordle person or a crossword puzzle person or something. That's really the gate 18. People love that. But I do get a joy out of having practiced something, having developed a level of mastery, or I'm starting to use the word adeptness, because mastery has a little bit of a funky association with colonialism, frankly. So let's call it adeptness now, right? Becoming adept at something. And there's a joy when you become adept at it. So the earth is lighting this up, and it's inviting you to really ground yourself in your sense of, what have I really become adept at? Right? What am I? I'm like, wow, you know what? I have practiced this through my life, and maybe part of what Saturn is lighting up for you in your life. Actually, Saturn's lighting up the 58 for me. So it's been a practice for me to find the joy in the adeptness and cultivate the joy, express the joy. Because, sometimes discipline and really learning something, right? Like discipline, like learning a language or learning an instrument or learning how to shoot and edit video, or learning human design. Like all of these different things take a certain amount of discipline in the positive sense, right? And when you start to get it, there's this joy with that. So check it out for yourself. What have you spent your time and energy and attention at getting good at for yourself, right? And see if you can find the place of joy in that. Really celebrate. So often when we learn things, we kind of, learn it, get what we need out of it, and then we move on. And we don't always stop to celebrate and go, wow, you know what? I really put my energy into that, and now I feel adept at this. I feel good at this, right? And so give yourself the permission to celebrate something. You'll be glad that you did. Now, when you can ground yourself in that sense of joy, you'll have more access to the sun lighting up the gate 52. Now, the gate 52 is kind of interesting. It's also in the logic circuit, and you'll see here that there's a little jog in the circuitry, because we come in from the right-hand side of the body, come up into the root, and then we pop over to the other side of the root. It's kind of interesting. It comes up and then goes back over to the right side of the body to go up the rest of the central channel. So don't be fooled by the fact that the 52 is over on this side of the root. It's still in the logic circuit. So in traditional human design, it's known as stillness. And in quantum human design, it's known as perspective. I think part of this is that it has to do with being able to see the big picture, big perspective. We think of it as like kind of peripheral view where you can see a lot, right? It's interesting because that's a little bit more of a right-brained skill, that peripheral gaze. But here it's about being able to kind of step back, see the big picture, see the patterns, because the logic circuit is also the pattern circuit in quantum human design. Step back, and it takes a certain amount of stillness, right, to be able to take it in. Now, the key here is you don't want to get overwhelmed by how much you see, right? Whoa. This is what happens also, like when we step back and we look at like the big picture of what's happening on Earth right now. It can be super overwhelming. We don't want to get derailed by getting overwhelmed by taking in the big picture. So you want to watch out for that. Instead, you want to be able to go, oh, okay, you don't get kind of zen about it. Just like, I'm taking that in. I'm not getting attached to anything. I'm noticing if any energy, emotions arise. I'm just going to let them flow through me. And I'm just going to do my best just to take it in with a really broad view. And I'm going to pause. I'm going to be still in order to be able to do that. And then the other part of this 52 is to be able to kind of zero in and go right there. That's my piece of this big picture. This is my piece. In our practice in intentional creativity, we talk about the red thread that connects all of us, which is in every spiritual tradition around the world. And we get overwhelmed if we try to take in all of it. But if we can just pick up our piece, I can just pick up my piece. You can just pick up your piece of the red thread, your piece to do. Then we can have some tolerance for the big picture and know it's not my job to try to engage the big picture. My job is to work with this piece right here, right? there was this phrase that you're probably familiar with, came around actually decades ago, which is think globally, act locally. Same idea, right? Have an idea of the big picture, but take your actions specifically with a like kind of laser focus. That's what you want to be cultivating in yourself during this transit. And remember, you're grounding yourself in this kind of joy of your adeptness. And my recommendation is that as you look at the big picture, you connect it to what it is that you are feeling joyful in being adept about, right? So you kind of stay in your sphere, as it were, right? Get a big picture of your sphere and then go, okay, where do I need to focus next? Okay. That way, even if you are looking at global events, global challenges, you can still be like, okay, yes, I can take a look at that, but I have my sphere in which I take action. I have my sphere in which I want to be paying attention to what's happening. Like, I would consider human design a sphere for me. I've reached a certain level of adeptness, right? I have a certain level of joy, of mastery with human design. Do I have more to learn? Sure. There's no end to what you can learn with human design. But I've reached a certain level of adeptness. And so I can ground myself in the joy of that, have the big picture about what's happening in human design. I've actually been thinking about this a lot lately, and then know what is my place, right? What's my contribution? What's the thing I'm going to do with human design? Right? So you can think about what that is. And in fact, what I've decided, at least right now, my contribution to the field of human design has to do with really bringing to the fore the creative and intuitive aspects of the chart, of the system. The more that I study human design, the more that I do readings for people, the more that I work with clients, the more I realize that the analytical mind does not have the capacity to make good decisions. It can be really good at gathering information. It can be good at categorizing it and analyzing it and even looking at potential strategies that come out of that. But when you ask the analytical mind to make a decision, it kind of goes, yeah, but what about this? And what about that? And what, did you think of this? And oh no, if you go that way, then this. And but what about that? It's like this kind of chaotic stress that mind part of us, that analytical mind goes into, because it's not built to do that. And what I see in people is just so much fatigue and confusion and frustration because they're trying to make great decisions with their analytical minds, which of course is how we were all trained in Western culture to operate. But I just see it's like making everybody crazy and exhausted, so we need to stop. Fortunately, human design has said, hey, there's a whole bunch of other ways, better ways for you to be getting information, for you to be digesting that information, to be integrating it and embodying it and expressing it in your life. And yes, of course, our authorities, which are all intuitive, none of them are analytical or logical. And the authorities are super important. But as it turns out, there's all kinds of other aspects of the chart. So the parallel of the analytical mind is the creative mind, the right-brained energy. And there's just as much of that in the chart as there is logic. So we've got all this creativity that comes in the right brain, comes over the left-hand side of the body and up through the central channel, right? Then we've got the knowing circuit, which is highly intuitive, which is bigger than any other circuit in the chart. It's massive. So my contribution is to help bring this to the fore so that you can step out of that chaos, that confusion, that overwhelm, that frustration that you have with trying to do things the way that you were taught was going to bring you happiness and success and clarity and certainty and all of that. Unfortunately, it doesn't usually do that. So we need all of our faculties. We need our creativity and we need our intuition. So the new program that I'm going to start releasing to you really soon, Embody Your Human Design Through Creativity and Intuition. Right now, you can go and let me know, hey, I want to find out more about that. The link is here and the link will be down in the description. And it's not a registration page. There's nothing to buy yet, but you can take a look at it and see if it interests you. And just give me your name and your email, and then you'll be on the early adopters list. And I will be sending out information to you before it goes to anybody else. And this is going to be a great program. And what I've seen is that nobody else is teaching human design in a really intuitive and creative way. People talk about intuition, they talk about creativity, but they do it in an information-based way, not in an experiential and truly creative and intuitive way. And that's what we're going to be doing in this program. And if that is something that you feel is going to uplift your life, which I know it would, but if you feel that, I'd love to have you. All right. Many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.